Okay, cool. So today's topic we're talking about, okay, is why your man makes you feel invisible in your relationship, okay? I want you to understand first and foremost, all right, that feeling invisible in relationships does actually happen. We all have gone through moments in relationships where we have felt invisible, all right? But a moment is not a pattern of behavior that we exist in a relationship. It's very different, right? You can have a moment in a relationship where someone doesn't see you for a second or two, yes, because sometimes we invalidate each other, and that can make someone feel invisible at a time and at a season. But it should not be a prolonged thing over a period of time where we are invisible. So today's topic we're talking about is why your man makes you feel like you are invisible. Okay, all right. Okay, so we're going to go through that today. 5 reasons. Okay, let's do this. I'm just going to bring up my sheets of scrape. Okay, all right, cool. So, funny enough, someone put it in the chat as well about being friends with somebody who's fantasizing them. But one of the reasons why a man will make you feel invisible is because he's not in love with you. He's in love with the idea of you. Okay, this relates to the anxious attachment, which I'm going to break down in a few minutes. But I want to give my first 5 points as to why a man will make you feel invisible. Number 1, it's because he's not in love with you. He's in love with the idea of you. Okay? Some men like the fantasy of you rather than actually the reality of you. Number 2 is that they oftentimes downplay or forget important moments that are important to you, because that requires emotional connection. Okay, all right. And so when someone is avoiding the emotional connection, important moments and dates, times, and seasons are not on their mind. Number 3 is they can be hot and cold with their attention, because a lot of times they are afraid of vulnerability. So they can be vulnerable 1 minute and the next minute be super cold the next. And that's because of something with them. They struggle with being open and vulnerable consistently. And so therefore, actually, you bringing vulnerability to the table actually means that they now need to push you away and make you invisible in that relationship. Number 4, okay, is that sometimes some people just want your presence, but they don't want you, okay? They want your warmth, but they don't want you. Very similar to number 1, but in a bit different, right? Some men will have you in their life, and they want your presence, your essence, your energy. They want all of that, but they don't want you. You know, it could be akin to a man actually hating women. I don't know, but yeah, that person just wants what all the feminine energy you have, wants all the vibe you have, wants all the input you have. But they don't want the commitment of actually having to surrender to that person, you. Okay? All right? And number 5 is they just don't have the emotional depth for you that you need. Number 5 is that they literally do not have the capacity to go to the level and the depth that you actually are requiring of them. And therefore, you are going to feel invisible because they can't go as deep as you want them to be. Okay, you're talking feelings, you're talking emotions, you're talking intimacy, you're talking vulnerability, and all they're hearing is you're asking for too much. So you're going to feel invisible, right? Okay, cool. My first 5 points, but of course we're going to go deeper because we need to break it down from an attachment perspective. Okay, now what I want to say is first and foremost this. A lot of times when we talk about invisibility in relationships, it's because the emotional needs are not being met. Okay, emotional needs are not being met. That's why you feel invisible. That's why you have felt invisible. And that's why you'll continue to feel invisible. But I must stress this point before I get deeper as to why men tend to make women feel invisible in relationships. Number 1 point I want to make is this. If they're making you feel invisible, don't then you add to it by making yourself feel invisible. Okay? If they're making you feel invisible, don't then add to it by making yourself invisible. What does that mean? It means show up for yourself. Okay? All right? Because I watched a video and I was bemused. A woman said that she had been dating someone for 10 years. He stopped dating her. He stopped saying compliments, stopped doing affectionate things. He just stopped. And I said, and she said, oh, I haven't washed my hair. I haven't taken myself. I haven't done my nails. I haven't done my hair. I'm always with a kid. Da, da. I said, wait. I said, darling. If you become single now, when will you get time to go and do your hair, do this, nails? You still won't have the time. You need to be able to prioritize yourself first. Don't forget you. Don't make yourself invisible on the account of making somebody else visible in a relationship. Don't head into relationships with men and you yourself have not practiced making yourself visible and expect them to make you visible. No, you need to first make sure that you are able to prioritize your needs first, because no one else is going to supply that in the way that you actually need, in the way that you actually need, right? Of course, someone can supply, but you know you best. You're you know what I mean? You're your best cheerleader, your best fan, okay? So that's really important, right? Heading into a relationship, just for the ladies as well. If you're listening to this, as much as I talk about the man, them, I have to make sure that you also know that if you're somebody who was doing the nails after by yourself, you went out to your nails, you were doing your hair, you were taking care of yourself, you were doing things for yourself. This shouldn't be a time now when you get into a relationship, you stop doing it because what? He's not paying it for you. Forget about what he's paying for. You need to be paying for that. I'm just saying, like, this is something you were doing already. Why did you stop? Because when you start doing that, you start making yourself invisible. You stop supplying you first and foremost. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with you asking your man to pay for it. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Right? If he decides he ain't gonna do that no more, make sure you're still gonna do it for you. Because at the end of the day, you need to turn up for you. Right? Like, that's the first and foremost, have your back. You know what I'm saying to you? Right? First and foremost, have your back. You were doing it before you got into a relationship. Why are we stopping? Okay? All right? Why are we stopping? Don't let him and whatever he's doing and the lack of what he's doing be the sole reason why you stop doing what you're supposed to be doing for you. You know what I'm saying to you? If you enjoyed a little time out by yourself, if you enjoyed a little reading of a book, if you enjoyed a little bit of going to the salon, if you enjoyed going to the nail plus, if you enjoyed going for a little bit of shopping for yourself, a retail shopping, don't stop it now because he ain't feeding you. Don't stop it now because he isn't, when I say feeding you, emotionally feeding you. Don't stop it because he's not showing up the way you want him to show up. Like, why are you abandoning you because he's abandoned you? Do you know what I'm saying to you? Like, if he's abandoned you in that area, don't abandon you too. That don't help nothing. Okay, so make sure you've got you first. At the end of the day, relationships, while they are about two people, they're also individuals within a relationship as well. Okay, just want to make that caveat point before I go deeper and start talking about, obviously, attachment styles to break down the invisibility aspect before I get you guys thoughts on this as well. Okay, all right, cool. So let's get deep with this, man. Let's get deep with this. Okay. Why men make women feel invisible. I already gave you my 5 reasons as to why, but I'm going to break them through attachment styles. If you don't know anything about attachment styles, simply put, attachment styles is this. It is a way that we emotionally connect in relationships, okay? And it's based upon some work that was done by British psychologist John Bowlby and then further elaborated on by Mary Ainsworth, okay? And what they discovered is how young children operated with their caregivers affected how they behaved in adult relationships. Okay? How they behaved in childhood with their caregiver is often how they related, or a pattern was related, how they moved in adult relationships. Okay? So this is going to play a role in how we're going to get to this conversation about how men make women feel invisible. A lot of times I find that women are very anxious in relationships, attaching, and they tend to find men who are avoidant in relationships. The thing here about avoidance and anxious people is anxious people overreach out of their invisibility, and avoidance run out of being too visible. And the problem is that the avoidant was invisible a lot of times in their childhood, and so what ended up happening was they didn't develop the capacity to be seen for prolonged periods of time, to be exposed for prolonged periods of time. The anxious person was overseen all the time, being either controlled or was always looked at. You know, you had rules, you had to be back by 8 o'clock. The parents are too strict. So what happens is you're overseen. So now what's going to happen is the two of you, the avoidant and the anxious, have 2 choices: solve each other's pain points or destroy each other. Which one are you going to choose? Let me say it again for you. The avoidant grows up in a household where they are oftentimes underseen. They are invisible. The parents are not able to cater to the emotional needs of that child. So vulnerability ain't the thing. Okay? So when that child becomes an adult, that male, for instance, get into an adult relationship, The overexposure to emotional things, emotional vulnerability, feelings, deep thoughts, and those kind of things, right? That's an overexposure that they did not have in their childhood. It's overbearing and it has too much weight because the person has not built a capacity to receive that. So the example would be, if I turn this light up way too bright, it becomes like that. And it's like, that's too much exposure. That's what's happening to the avoidant when they are being chased by the anxious person. Okay? And why is the light so bright on the avoidant? Because the anxious person too has grown up in a household where they were always overexposed. The parent was on them. The parent only loved them because it was conditional, or the parent only showed love when they did something for them. But the parent also could be very strict. A parent could be too many rules. A parent could be like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And they're always controlling you in that space, right? It's an overexposure. So the child needs now, when they go into adult relationships, a lot of reassurance because they had overexposure by the parent. So they go into a relationship with an avoidant who's low in the exposure, because what happens is that the anxious person can give and the avoidant can take. So when the avoidant takes, what the anxious person is hoping for is then the anxious person waiting for the validation by saying, oh, thank you, I appreciate you, I love you, da 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 da. But the avoidant is like, you're doing too much. At the same time, the avoidance is an issue because the avoidance, like, while I don't want the overexposure, it's so nice when you are overexposing to me. Because really and truly, no one really gives a crap about me usually. Or so it feels like. So now I've got an anxious person as an avoidant man. I'm like, wow, like all that exposure you're giving me, I've never had that before. You must really care. You must really like me. But then after a while, the light becomes too bright and it's like, right? Now, two choices by the man who's an avoidant and the woman that's anxious. Two choices. Destroy each other or learn how to heal based upon the fact that both of you are a problem that needs solving via each other. If the avoidant can learn from the anxious person that actually, I don't need to be invisible in this relationship, I can actually be seen and it's not something that's going to destroy me and trap me, then they can begin to learn to be more secure. If the anxious person can learn also to turn it down a little bit, you don't always need to be full gung-ho, you don't need to fantasize of a person, you don't always need to chase, and they learn that, they can also become what? More secure. So the avoidant can learn from the anxious person how to give a bit more, and the anxious person can learn how to be reserved a bit more. Okay? The key thing though is what's happening is this, right? There are avoidants who don't grow. There are. I won't lie to you. There are avoidant people out there that won't grow. But I'll also tell you there's avoidant people that do want to grow. But some of you are annoying. I can't lie. Some of you are annoying. You are clingy. And I'm not even talking about clingy in terms of being physically clingy. Your need for reassurance is suffocating. You're an overreacher, an overgiver, and you do too much. And there are some avoidants too, who honestly, if I'm really honest with you, are out here saying, I want love, I want appreciation, I want affection, but them there, as soon as they get it, they're pushing away or they're running away. They're scared. So the very thing you ask for the person to love you, and now they're loving you, and you run into. So we've got two sets of parties here who actually make each other feeling very invisible. When the avoidant decides he's going to pull away, he makes the anxious person feel invisible. So the anxious person does what they know best. They reach over. When the anxious person is doing too much, they overexpose the avoidant, and the avoidant feels like, hey, I got to get away. Like I said before, I'm going to repeat the line again. You got two choices. Are you going to destroy each other, or are you going to actually heal each other? That's the two choices you got. Okay? That's the two choices you got. But let's break it down a little bit more, and then I'll come back to dynamics between two people and explain what's going on as well. Okay? All right? So we can come back to that point. All right? I'll come back to that point. Now, before I get to that point, I want to let you guys know we are launching something very brand new. Okay? All right, we're launching something brand new. I already coach people already. I have about 30, 40 clients already. We did 200 people last year. I've minimized it now, only 40 clients. But what I'm doing now is I'm doing a new group coaching. Okay, all right. Now I want to keep the group small. Okay, it's a group coaching. I want to keep it small. So if you're interested in healing your attachment, you're interested in being able to communicate better, you're interested in having more emotional regulation, knowing how to name and name your emotions and be able to communicate effectively, and you want to do it in a group setting, DM me. Okay, I'm only taking about 10 people. I want to take about 10 to 15 people max. I want to start there because I want to be able to really focus on that group and really give them all the tools that I give the people that will come to me one-to-one. I'm giving that in the group. Of course, it won't be exactly the same, but I'm giving that in the group. Okay, all right. So if you're interested in growing that and maybe the one-to-one is a little bit expensive in terms of coaching, then this is going to be for you. All right, DM for the group coaching. It's going to be over 10 weeks, an hour session each week. Okay, so what I want to do first and foremost is just DM me. It's not costing you anything right now. Just DM me and so if you're interested. I want to get a set of people. Like I said, I want to get 10 really and truly. Okay, all right. I'm at space. All right, coolly. All right, cool. Let's go a little bit deeper because I want to break this down a bit more. Okay, all right, cool. So why men make women feel invisible? We're talking from an attachment style perspective. Let's talk about anxious men, and then we'll come to the avoidant men in a second or two. Okay, so for the anxious man, as I already told you, there are 4 attachments. There's secure, which we're all trying to be. Okay, there is avoidant, dismissive, avoidant, fearful, and then anxious, preoccupied. Okay, those 4 are based upon the upbringing and the interactions that a caregiver has with a particular child. Okay, all right. So if you grew up in an anxious household, usually the parents were either overbearing, were very controlling, they were in your face, or they could have been very conditional. They only love you and shower you love when you do well. They shower you love when you do good grades. They shower you love when you wash the dishes. They shower you love when you always are doing something, but don't love you necessarily, or you don't feel the love emotionally for just being you. Okay, so we've got anxious men now. Okay, here are 2 core beliefs of the anxious men. One of them is, if I don't cling to love, I'll lose it. Okay, if I don't cling to love, I'll lose it. And number 2 is, I need someone to fill my emptiness. So the thing about anxious people, but I'm talking about anxious men, is that they externalize their need for validation in outside sources. So because in their household, the parents were the external source that would then condition them to conditional love, what the anxious person learns growing up is, love is conditional. I must do X, Y, Z to get X, Y, Z. And so they always are seeking for a place to be of service and of use. Okay, so those anxious men will oftentimes choose, I call them projects. You know what I'm talking about. Man, them, if you know, you know. Okay, now the women are the same way too. So women, you can take this and apply it to yourselves. It's not really any different. Okay, so if you're an anxious woman, this is also for you. There are anxious men that will choose a project, and you know those men. They're super duper nice, super duper, appreciative. They seem so loving, and the word you would use for them is, they're so nice, right? But they keep telling you, they keep dating women that don't appreciate them. They date women that don't like them. They date women that have taken advantage of them. They date women that have always been, that don't see them for who they are, right? They're trying to change them, okay? They date projects. They date people who they have to chase. They date people that aren't going to be caught. They date people that really and truly are not trying to give back to them what they're giving because they're over-giving, overreaching, okay? Now, those people are afraid of abandonment, okay? Anxious people are afraid of abandonment. So they externalize their relationships. They are always holding on to relationships. In all their relationships, they're the one usually holding it together, okay? When a man want to go on holiday, it's you. You know it's you as a man. You know it's you that holding that mandem group together, yeah? You're the one asking all the questions. Has everyone got their passport? Has everyone got this? Has everyone got that? You've designed the list, okay? You've done Okay? You've done that because you are afraid of losing the group, losing the people. Okay? Now, why does this play a role in relationships? Okay? Can you be anxious and avoidant? Yes, you can. That's called fearful avoidant. Now, why does this happen? Okay? Again, why does this happen? It happens because these anxious men will project fantasies onto women. Okay, so that woman who is a project for that man, okay, he doesn't see her, he sees the project. He doesn't see her for her, he sees validation, future validations. He doesn't see her for her, he sees the ego being fed. He doesn't see her, he sees, how can I fix you? How can I be your Superman? How can I be your hero? What he sees is an opportunity to be of value by being of service. And that's the problem. Because you're not seeing them. You're seeing you fixing them, and you're having a fantasy in your head and hoping that the fantasy will reward you in the end. It's selfish. In fact, all the attachments are selfish. That's the whole point. And so that's what makes people feel invisible. So you'll date someone, and let's say they're not even a project. Let's say they're not a project. Let's say that you date someone normal. What will happen is your need for reassurance, your need for co-regulation on everything will drive that person mad, because it's always about you and your feelings. And your feelings will drive that relationship. You'll sabotage situations because really and truly, if that person doesn't give you the reassurance that you need, you'll amp it up even some more. Right? You'll need to cling on to them. Okay? Because you're afraid to lose them. And so these men will make these women feel invisible, because those women will end up feeling like, hold on, does he see me, or is he just seeing my problems? Does he see me, or is he just seeing the fact that, I need fixing here? Right? And so that will play a massive role in being invisible in that man's life. The need to be your everything will be an issue. Almost codependent in the way that he behaves. You'll feel like, hold on a minute, he feels like he's your temper. He'll feel like he's your temperature gauge. How do I call it? He'll feel like he's the one that's controlling your temperature. Like he has to do that, right? He has to save you. He has to control your temperature, and then you always feel like, hey, you know what I mean? You always feel like, hey, thermometer. Okay, thank you. You always feel like, you always feel like, hey, So the reason, and again, this goes back to what I'm saying to you. The reason why, again, is because yes, thank you for that, Taina. Yes, you will feel like you're walking on eggshells, because any movement that looks like abandonment is going to send them over the edge. Any movement, any behavior, if you want to breathe, you breathing a bit too heavy, you might leave. You know what I'm saying to you? You go and take a doo-doo. Hey, is there a back door in the toilet? Just want to make sure. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being facetious, but it does feel like that. You almost can't move because any sign of abandonment is going to cause them to want to cling. Okay? This is precisely what we're talking about. So this will make somebody feel like they're being suffocated because you're invisible. Like, it almost feels like they don't care about your needs. They only care about you being in their life. It feels selfish. Okay? It feels very draining, and it feels like you got no life of your own. Right? Okay? Now, you can spot these things oftentimes because when that man starts attaching to you really, really quickly, you know the ones there? Where you start talking to someone and that man's on you, bro. Like, he just likes everything about you. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with ideally, because, you can like somebody. But you know where, you know the ones where you're like asking the question, wait, hold on. You like me. What do you like? Because I haven't even said anything about myself. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Like, you haven't shared anything about you, but he likes you so much. How? Because they're fantasizing already. Okay? They're fantasizing. And so the speed is coming into the relationship. Right? They're overlooking things because they don't want to slow down and actually pay attention to what's going on in the relationship. Okay? So in essence, yes, it can be seen as love bombing. You know what I mean? Okay? So that's really important. All right? You know, and you ever been in that situation where you're talking to someone and they're like, "You're the one." Hey. We just started talking. You know, you're the one. Hey, my friend, can we enjoy each other's presence? The shrimp is good. You know what I mean? Like, the shrimp is good, but I mean, I need you to relax. You know what I'm saying to you? You might be the one. Now, if you're a woman too, this also applies to you. You know, if you've said it before, like, I think he's the one. You said it in your head. You've gone cuckoo crazy already. Slow it down. Okay? Yes. They are fine. Yes, they have beautiful thighs. Yes, their smile is beautiful. Yes, he dresses nice. But sis, slow it down. Okay? All right? Slow it down. You the one. Now, am I asking you to play games? No. What I'm asking you to do is pay attention. Because something that anxious men do, but we can talk about the ladies too, but it's just the men, I'm talking about the men, how they make people feel invisible, is that what they end up doing is, in the dating phase, is that they've already started the video in their head of you and I. You and I. It's like, you and me now. I've been waiting. Think I'm gonna make my move now. Tell me how you like it. Like, your mind's already got a videotape playing of you and them already. You're married. White dress. Church. Children. And it's like, wait. Slow it down now. Now, the reason why this happens a lot of times is because you don't want to slow down, because for you personally, if you slow it down, you'd have to start thinking. And if you start thinking, it might not be what you want it to be. Right? And then that makes you sad, because it's like, oh, well, then and then I have to really think about, this might not be for me, but if it's not for me, then I can't externalize my validation right now. It means I can't rest here, right? But the anxious person is looking to see how they can rest and get validation from the other person. Slow it down, my dear. Slow it down, my dog. Okay, the man will not be telling you, listen, I've never seen a beautiful girl like you before. You're the pengiest thing since sliced bread. Hey, slow it down. Slow it down. Okay? All right? Another thing also that can also play into this also is people not asking you what you actually need, but trying to anticipate it. I know some people don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. Some of you don't want to ask the person what they need. You're trying to anticipate what they need. You want the plaudits of guessing what's in their mind. Stop it. Stop it right now. Stop it right now. You're afraid of abandonment and you're afraid of abandonment. So I need you to stop it. Okay? You're trying to get ahead of the curve. You're trying to prove yourself. You're trying to make sure that that you're that great partner. You're now beginning to issue into perfectionism. Stop. Only God can read hearts and minds. Okay, so so you know these men, you know them, ladies, you know them, you like them because you like them for the beginning, you don't like them at the end, right? Those men that anticipate every need you ever had in your entire life, right? That's why they call him nice. Okay, he anticipates everything. He's not asked you, you know. He just does. Hey, you're not even involved. It's not even about you. It's about them being a perfectionist spirit, trying to make sure that they don't get rejected. Oh, my guy. Relax. So this is what happens with anxious men, and they make women feel invisible by doing too much. It's why those men that do too much, you know, those men that are, I'm not talking about paying bills, I'm not talking about taking you out on dates, but you can feel his energy. Everything about him is intense. Everything about him is over the top. Everything about him is like, it's not even about you and him. You can feel it almost. Right? They take you out on a date, and it's intense. And it's intense because they're already so far ahead of you. And it's like, we're not there yet. We haven't got to that point just yet. Why are you so far ahead? Right? That man needs to slow it down because he makes a woman feel invisible. Okay? Okay. All right. Let's talk about the second type of men, dismissive, avoidant men. Before I go and talk about that, okay, if you have got any questions, remember I'm going to open up the platform for you to ask questions in about let's give it 15 or so minutes, right? 15, 20 minutes. I'll open up the panel so you can come and ask questions. So if you've got questions, give it 15, 20 minutes. We'll open up the panel. You can come and ask your questions there. Okay? All right? But remember as well, like I said, we've got a new thing called the group coaching. If you are someone who maybe feels like the one-on-one coaching is a little bit expensive, because it is expensive, I understand. If you are interested in make sure you are healing your attachments, being more emotionally regulated, learning your love languages, learning how to communicate your actual needs, learning also how to connect emotionally, learning how to name your emotions. If that's what you're interested in, stuff like we're talking about right now, if this is what you're interested in, then DM me to get some more details about the group coaching we're starting to launch by the end of October. Okay, so if you're interested in that kind of coaching, and maybe that one-to-one coaching might be a little bit expensive, then DM me for the group coaching. I'll send you a link. Like I said, I'm only looking for about 10 people. I really want to focus on them as well, okay? So it's going to be very specific to those 10 people, and we're going to spend a 10-week program, okay, as well. So it'll be over 10 weeks, all right? Weekly meetups every week as well, okay, for that group, all right? Okay, cool. All right, so part 2. Let's talk about the dismissive, avoidant men. Now, I want to make it very clear. There's dismissive avoidant and there is fearful avoidant. The two are vastly different. Dismissive avoidant and fearful avoidant are vastly different, okay? And they're vastly different because the fearful avoidant has both an anxious and a dismissive side, okay? So they're going to operate differently. They have similarities though, but they're going to operate differently. So what do I mean by this? The fearful avoidant man grows up in a household where there was usually chaos, some level of abuse, verbal, mental, emotional, could be sexual, financial even, right? The parent is abusive in some shape or form, like their anger is always raging, whatever, right? The child never feels physically or emotionally safe in that household, okay? It can be also children who've had to move around lots of different houses, and those houses weren't necessarily physically safe, okay? All right? Or narcissistic, or parents that were drug users or alcoholics. These can also play a role in being unsafe environments for the child to grow up in. And what can end up happening is a child will learn that their household is unpredictable. Okay? Now, why am I saying this? A lot of this stuff happens on Married at First Sight. If you have watched Married at First Sight UK, I'm going to do some breakdowns. I'm going, I know it's every day, but I'm going to try and catch up as quick as I can. I watched the first 2 episodes and I said, oh my God, like, there's a woman on there called, I think her name is Sarah. Sarah is dating a man called Dean, and she tells us her background. She says her mother was an alcoholic. So she had to come home from school and she don't know what mum she's going to get. But she also realized that she had to start looking after her mum and had to be emotionally mature for her mum. So a lot of you have grown up in households where you're also parentified. You've played a parent role in your household. Okay? And that can lead to avoidance as well, because you've always been an adult in your household. You've looked after your siblings. You're a parent to your siblings, or your mummy, maybe your dad abandoned you, or your mum abandoned you, and you've had to fill their boots, and that can contribute towards a fearful avoidant perspective. Okay, all right, and fearful avoidants oftentimes do find themselves being very susceptible to narcissistic people. Okay, because again, the narcissist has similar traumatic patterns. When we call trauma bonding, the true trauma bonding we're talking about is a cycle that narcissists use, right? To dislodge you and to throw you into a whirlwind, to take you on the highs and the lows, and then to get you caught up in an addictive spell. But usually fearful avoidants are very prone to those people because that's their household. Even if the parent wasn't narcissistic, the parent created a household which was very up and down. And so the narcissist bringing the up and down is actually quite congruent to what they've already experienced as a pattern. Some of you who are fearful avoidants are very prone to codependent people because that level of attachment is what you're trying to stop the fear of being abandoned. But the key thing about codependency is not even that. The key part of codependency is that some of you have grown up in households where you did have no choice. You were a codependent child, because if it wasn't for you, your mum couldn't eat. If it wasn't for you, your dad wouldn't be alive. If it wasn't for you, your brothers wouldn't get no food, or they wouldn't get to school. There was so much reliance on you that it depended on your behavior that would change someone else. That is a pattern that codependents also operate in. Codependent people tend to operate in spaces of, if I'm not there, they won't do. Or if I'm not there, they're going to do something. But if I am there, I can change their behavior. This is how you fall into the category of being codependent, thinking that your behavior changes them. And that's how narcissists collect them. And that's how, codependent relationships also happen too. Okay? But we're going to get there. We're going to move it on and get on to dismissive avoidant men. Okay? Oh, maybe I should do fearful avoidant men. So I'm already there. Okay? Let's talk about these fearful avoidant men. Okay? All right? You probably know a few. Okay? You probably know a few. Let me tell you why. Because they're hot and cold. Okay? Because they're hot and cold. All right? So let me say it again. Fearful avoidant men. What's up with that? Well, fearful avoidant men, their core belief is if they open up, they'll get hurt. And if they stay distant, they'll be abandoned. Tricky. The fearful avoidance association is love is harmful. So I want you to imagine that chocolate is sweet, but it's spiky. Right? Imagine that. Like, imagine when you eat chocolate, it is very sweet. But at the same time, when it enters your mouth, it spikes you. That is the analogy of what happens to fearful avoidant men and women, but I'm talking about the men. That's what happens to them. So when they want love, but they associate it with being harmed. So I wanna be loved. I wanna be taken care of. I wanna appreciate you. I wanna be there for you. But at the same time, I recognize that when I do, I'm gonna be harmed. I'm anticipating it. Okay? So they want to be this. They want to get close, but they're scared they'll get hurt. But then when they want to be distant, they're afraid of being abandoned. Okay, that's why they're anxious and avoidant, and they believe that love is unpredictable and it can turn at any moment. So when they believe that love can turn at any moment, what they're really saying is, I can't trust you at any given moment. At any moment, you could betray me. So now my nervous system is jumpy. My nervous system is always going because I have to anticipate if you decide to move mad. You might hear a lot of fearful avoidant people say, but men cheat. It is what it is. When you hear a woman say that, there might be some fearful avoidance in there. They're trying to stop themselves from feeling like, you know what, like they want to have some control. It's like, well, men just cheat, so it is what it is. Like, so before they betray me, I've already put my mind there. They can't betray me because I've already, no. Okay? Now, how do they make their part? How does a fearful avoidant man make his partner feel invisible? Well, one of the ways they do that is through the hot and cold behavior. Imagine you are dating this man, and this man, 1 minute is very vulnerable. The next minute he shuts up shop. Right? 1 minute he's sharing his life story. The next minute he's like, boom. 1 minute he's saying, I love him where we're going. I love the connection. And next minute he's like, shut down. 1 minute, the whole week, they're on your neck, on your back, on your tutu, on your forehead. You know what I'm saying to you? And then the next week, suddenly quiet. What kind of game is this? Someone might ask. This is the hot and cold. And when they do that, it makes people feel invisible. Okay? It makes people feel invisible. Because you yourself, okay, are being thrusted and thrown about. And what you're looking for is emotional connection that's available and stable. Okay? And with that, when you get thrown into the up and down, when you're looking for stability, that can make you feel invisible. That can make you feel like, what the hell's going on? Why can't you meet my needs regularly? Why is it that we've got to do this dance where one week you're hot, the next week you're cold? Why do we have to do this dance where for a period of time you say you've changed and then you go right back to where you were, or to being quiet and shut down and not saying anything, or fearful? Why can't we have the consistency? That can make someone feel invisible. Their needs are not being met. Okay? All right? Okay? Now, you may find that, the fearful avoidant man may be asking for space a lot, or they may be feeling like, they may suddenly go cold and the responses are a little bit like distant, or you find them being, you find them in situations where the fearful avoidant man is attentive and is vibrant, but they always have this "I don't feel good enough" perspective. And that can make someone feel invisible too, because every single time I'm in a place of a counselor, I'm in a place of a cheerleader, but not your partner. So I can't be your partner because every single time you're always asking about your particular need for reassurance. Okay. All right. Okay. And also that the fearful avoidant male also requires chaos. That's why sometimes you think they're narcissists, but they're just chaotic. And they want chaos because that chaos makes them feel safe, but that chaos makes you feel unseen. The chaos makes them feel good, but that chaos makes you feel sick. The chaos makes them feel in control, but that chaos makes you feel like you are spiraling. Okay? That's the fearful avoidant male. That's how they can make you feel invisible. Yeah? Okay, last one. Dismissive avoidant men. Okay? Dismissive avoidant men. So dismissive avoidant men, they grow up in households where the father or the mother were unable to meet the emotional needs of the child. The father or the mother were unable to attend to the child and their wants and their needs at a very young age. So what the child learns is that they can't depend on their parent. They can't depend on their carer. They must sort it out by themselves. There's no one to help them. There's no one to pull them up by the bootstrap. There's no one to drive them. There's nobody to save you. You must save yourself. And guess what? That same thought process is how they also look at relationships. So what ends up happening is you'll recognize is that the dismissive avoidant will feel like, hold on a minute, why do you need my help so much? Why are you asking so much? Why don't you stand on your own 2 feet? Why aren't you able to figure out by yourself? Why do you keep dragging me into situations to try and solve for you and you're not necessarily thinking for yourself? Because the avoidant is thinking from their perspective, wondering, okay, I'm hyper independent. I get my stuff down. I find a way. Why don't you find a way? Why are you being lazy about the way you're doing it? If you meet a man like that, you'll be paying bills and he'll be paying bills and telling you, you should pay some bills. When I say pay some bills, I'm not talking about pay some bills. I'm talking about they'll be like, yes, you should pay more. Yes, you should pay more. Because really, truly, you should be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Right? Why do you need me to splurge a bit of cash on you? That don't make no sense. Everybody should be able to do their own thing. Everybody should be able to live their life. Everybody should be able to do this by themselves. Why do I need to step in on that? Okay? So, dismissive avoidant men, their core belief is that if they depend on others, it will be hurt. They'll be hurt. If they depend on others, they'll be hurt. So, you now dependent on them to a certain degree. Yeah, but don't do too much. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can ask me a question, but don't take it too far now. Don't make me feel like you're a dependent in my life. You know what I'm saying? Don't make me feel like don't make me feel like I now have to baby you. Don't let me feel like, now I'm your father or mother to you. Like, don't make me feel like that, because when you do, I feel trapped. Okay? So closeness is a threat. They have to minimize it as dismissive avoidance. Okay? So why does this happen? Why do they make partners feel invisible? Well, actually, a lot of times they downplay emotional significance because, again, they don't have necessarily the emotional capacity to deal with it, right? I remember my biggest thing is remembering birthdays. I don't give a heck. I don't care about birthdays, bro. The amount of women that have told me, oh, my birthday. I don't remember my birthday. You know what I'm saying to you? I don't even remember my birthday. So you asking me to remember yours, it doesn't mean anything. It's another day. I don't know why you stressed. It is another day. Are you making money? Are you eating good? Then that's all that matters. What do you want? You want flowers and a cake? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? You want to do Valentine's Day? It's another day that the man is going to take more money out of our pay packet. Why do you want to do a Valentine's Day? You know? It's another day. Why can't we show love on all 365 days? You know what I'm saying to you? Don't do too much now. Okay? Don't do too much now. You feel me? Yeah? And so that's the thought process. The thought process is, I don't really care about my birthday. I don't know why you are either. Don't expect me to care about it because I don't care about it. You know what I'm saying to you? It's an emotional thing. Birthdays are an emotional thing. I'm not an emotional person, so I don't care about your birthday. You know what I'm saying to you? It's not personal. I care about you, but I don't care about birthdays. It's another day. But that's the perspective of a dismissive avoidant person. Okay? That's the perspective of a dismissive avoidant person. Okay? They need to be let know that it's actually important to you. Okay? All right? They need to let you know it's important to you. All right? So, they downplay emotional significance, and then forgetting anniversaries or birthdays or special days, it is... they can be very cold in those situations. Okay? They can be very cold in those situations in a scenario. And a lot of times also, it is their way of deactivating emotional closeness with you and them. See, if I have to remember your birthday, I have to get close to you. If I have to remember your birthday, I have to get close to you. If I have to remember your birthday, I have to get close to you. You know what I do? Some of you who've coached me, you know already. I might say, "Oh, what's your birthday?" And I'll write it in my diary because I'm not going to remember. Because birthdays don't connect in the same way to me as other people. So I have to physically write into my diary. You feel me? So this is really important. Because, again, the emotional aspect doesn't make sense in that way. It doesn't necessarily register in the same way. You know what I mean? So once a person, and again, this is all coming down to emotional closeness. Because, again, if I remember that date, it means we're getting close.